Exactly. What do you think?
Yes, I was. Oh, they actually give you information like that, do you? Oh, I thought it had to do with something like a little bit more nice, I don't know. Gotta be part of the database, but I'm like, I don't know why I'm here. Yes, I mean, I do a little bit, but it's yes, and that's all. Thank for a little break over the holidays at work because there was a bunch of running freaking out and being insurance. You know, a lot of times at the end of the year is when their investors or whatever need. So after that, it feels calm now compared to that. End of the year. I did. Well, I did, but I'm still having to deal with that. But you know, whatever. Yes, I was off. It's still.
All still working.
Yes.
I was doing that too.
I know. Yeah, I still had, I had some. It was kind of, it wasn't really relaxing though until like 29, because we were hosting, you know, we had like in-laws. Big, you know, so it was fun. Yes. I cooked for like 4 days. After that, I was like, I'm not cooking, I don't feel. I'm like, I like cooking, but I. Yeah. Well, because you know how it is too when you're a company, it's like, you can't just like skip breakfast, you know what I mean? Like you have to feed them. You can't just.
Time we will resume our public session for the San Joaquin River Conservancy meeting. Do we have any reportable action at closed session?
Yes, for the first closed session item, the board did take unanimous action to allow the supervising acquisitions manager, Daniel Vasquez, to continue looking into property acquisition in Madera County.
Thank you. With that, we're going to go ahead and move on to item 8 on our agenda, public comment and business from the floor. So the first 10 minutes of the meeting are reserved for members of the public who wish to address the Conservancy Board on items of interest that are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Conservancy. Speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes. The board is prohibited from law from taking action on any matters that are not on the agenda. No adverse conclusion should be drawn if the board does not respond on its time this time. Thank you. Do you have any public comments?
Yes, I do. Hi, my name is Bradley Regan. I reside at 557 West Avalon Close. 2 weeks ago, I and the Conservancy and the agency that some of you represent received notice from the County of Fresno on the availability of a draft EIR for the Cemex Rockfield Expansion Mining Project, which if permitted, and if it goes 100 years, will create within the boundary of the parkway a pit that is approximately a half-mile wide, a half-mile long, and 2 football fields deep. I expected, when I looked at your agenda, that there would be something on the agenda about that because it's such an important change for the parkway. But it was not there. So I asked your staff if you couldn't amend the agenda and was told that was not possible when it was published. You might want to explain to staff that they can up to 72 hours change an agenda without any problem. I also told your office, Mr. McCollum, several times, but never got a response. So here we are. That's why I'm here today. I wanted an agenda item where you could help staff respond to the draft EIR. They do not have the expertise to do that. They don't have the resources to do it. But if you were to give them some direction on how your member agencies can help with that, you might produce a very nice response on the draft EIR. So without the help that they need, they're probably going to write a very simple letter saying mining is permitted and acceptable under the Parkway Master Plan. The Conservancy has no land use authority over that particular parcel, and you want the Fresno County to protect the wildlife and the enjoyment of the public as best as possible. Unfortunately, when the final EIR comes out, the comment will be, what the county will say is comment noted. Your response did not address the draft EIR. And so what I'd like you to do instead is this. Please write a letter saying that the use is incompatible with the Parkway Master Plan. Not because mining is allowed, but because hard rock mining was never anticipated when the Parkway Master Plan was put together. You might also remind the county that the county itself, its general plan for 2024, is also inconsistent with its use because it did not anticipate hard rock mining in a riverine area. I guess that's all I need to say. I'm trying to give you some direction, but I don't think you are going to give any direction to staff on how to do this. And so that would be very much appreciated. And finally, I would like to say, how is it possible that you can have an agenda item in March on this particular project? Do I approach your staff? Do members of the board approach staff and ask for an agenda item? How can we do that?
We don't typically do Q&A, but if you'd like to chat after, we can have the chat.
Oh, okay, I'll give you a call because I have another meeting after this one. Do I call you at your office in there?
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Quick question. We did get the notice that, the Department of Fish and Wildlife. Do you remember when the end of the comment period is?
I believe it's February 17th,
Okay,
which means you will not have another meeting.
right.
There's the problem.
And for your information, staff is prepared to comment in regards to your concern. And so at a later date time, they will make some comments. Okay,
All right, thank you.
appreciate it. And thank you for your comments. Thank you.
Can I make a comment just for everyone's understanding? So hard rock mining means they're not taking the loose aggregate, like a lot of the mines that are in the river or have been in the river bottom. It means blasting. So, and it is adjacent to Ball Ranch, correct? Thank you.
Good morning, my name is John Halpin. I'm a volunteer on the Parkway. I consider myself a student and a servant of the land. I haven't always been, but once I read this book, I understand better the history of our river. And I was born and raised in Colorado, and I am of European descent. So the first thing I'd like to do is recognize the Native people that used to live along this river, especially along the Parkway. As near as I can tell, a majority of the Parkway, if not all of the Parkway, is the ancestral lands of the Dunya. And I say, as far as I can tell, I've looked at maps, but those maps were drawn by government agencies, and it's not clear that they are accurate. One way that you could find out their accuracy is you could talk to a Dumna person. I know that Native people have a tradition of a story or a song that describes their native lands. And they teach it to their children at a very young age, so that once they leave the camp or the village, they understand exactly where they are and they know where their ancestral lands are. So it would be interesting to talk to a Dumna person and find out if they have that tradition and find out exactly where their native lands are. I know for a fact that their main village was a part of, excuse me, the Friant area, Millerton, because that village was burned down to build Fort Miller. And so I just want to recognize those people. And if I were to run into one of them and find out that they are from the Dumna tribe while I'm on the Parkway, I would definitely welcome them home. So the point I want to make this morning is, I read this book, I brought it up before at this meeting. I think it's important for everybody to read this book because it changed my entire view of nature and how the Native people tended the wild and actually changed the course of evolution to the benefit of nature. And the fact that they have not been available to the land to continue to tend it, it has fallen into disrepair. I mean, the recent wildfires, especially the local ones, are a good indication of what that is. They used to burn between 5.5 and 13 million acres of land every year. and it kept the understory clear and prevented dangerous wildfires. So I find it difficult to believe that we have this board here with the one open space on it, a native person. And so we don't have a native representative on this board. And I think we need to work more diligently to get the native community involved. And I think we're going to be talking about regulations later on in this meeting. And I would like to talk about unlimited native access at that point.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public comments at this time?
Do we know about the status of that equipment? It's still with the governor's office or it's starting from scratch?
I believe it's with the governors.
My name is Ray Falkenberg, and I am interested in supporting the mission of the San Joaquin River Conservancy by being a member of the San Joaquin River Parkway and Conservation Trust. In my opinion, the San Joaquin River is one of the great rivers of California, and it deserves a great parkway. Within the banks of the San Joaquin River is a place we call Ledger Island. And in my opinion, Ledger Island is one of the most spectacular places within the Conservancy. Unfortunately, after the decision was made to close the bridge across the river, people are not able to cross from Fresno County to the island. I urge you, the board, and I hope as a top priority to investigate and act on providing access from this side of the river to that area. When you consider the development in southern Madera County, particularly Rio Mesa development, as well as increased development along the bluff of the river in Fresno County, I think it's easy to realize that the parkway, including Ledger Island, has the potential to be one of the few areas of open space we're going to see in the future. I think it's obvious to me that over the next 30 years or so, we're going to see more development in this area. And this board can play an instrumental part of providing open space accessible to the public. I appreciate what each of you do to support the mission of the Conservancy, and it is my hope that in the future, you will look back on your decisions you're making now, where you can feel some pride on what you have accomplished in fulfilling the mission of the Conservancy. And I thank you for taking this request seriously, that is providing public access across the river from Fresno County to Ledger Island.
Thank you, Ray. Sharon.
Good morning, everyone. Sharon Weaver with the San Joaquin River Parkway and Conservation Trust. I just wanted to mention, I also serve on the board of the California Council of Land Trusts. So I wanted to mention a couple of things related to the California Council of Land Trusts that I think should be relevant to all of you. CCLT went through a period of transition over the past few years and went to an all-volunteer situation where the board was really managing the organization. And now, over the past year or so, we've been able to build back up and hired a new executive director in December. and that is Caroline Godkin. So she's somebody that has a lot of experience with state government, used to work for the Resources Agency when Secretary Laird, when Laird was Secretary of Resources. So I think many people are familiar with her. We're really excited about having her as our new executive director, with all of her contacts within state government. We think she's really going to help move the state land trust organization forward. And along those lines, I just wanted to mention that the California Land and Water Conference, which is CCLT's annual conference, is going to take place at Tenai Lodge this year. So it's in our region, and I would hardly recommend for you to take a look at the agenda and attend if you are able. It's going to be starting March 31st will be field trips for the California Land and Water Conference, and then April 1st and 2nd will be the 2 days of workshops and presentations at Tenai Lodge. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. With any other public comment from the floor? Any online?
I do have one online.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Heather Airy, and I'm representing Picayune Rancheria of the Chichansi Indians. I am the Cultural Resources Director and TIPO for the tribe. I also have Ted Atkins, who is our Language and Culture Director in the room. This partnership and this conservancy has been brought to us by another tribal member of our tribe. And so we decided to attend the meeting today. And looking at previous agendas and just previous conversation with the consultations with the surrounding tribes, I was just wondering, how were you guys going to go about reaching out to the tribes so that way we can involve all the surrounding tribes to discuss how we can incorporate this land and utilize it for our cultural resources, as well as language, putting a name to the land, involving the tribes. I would, if there's a certain person that we can reach out to, so that way we can stay connected and stay involved in these meetings. And if you guys need any assistance on who to reach out to with the surrounding tribes, I'd be more than happy to assist with that. We also did notice that you're looking for a tribal representative to sit on the board. I was curious on how you were going to go forward with selecting that person.
Thank you, Heather.
And that is all I have for right now. Thank you.
Aaron?
I think she can hear you, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Heather. Appreciate the comments. And if you'd like to reach out to me directly, I'd be happy to sit down with you. I believe you have my contact information. And just in short, the appointment was made through the governor's office, but I believe they have an individual in mind at this time. But we will certainly follow up with them to ensure that we get that appointment moving forward. So unless there are any other comments or from the floor, we have a couple of items of attention from our executive officer.
Are we moving to the consent items, or are you going to introduce the board members?
I think you had a item that you wanted to remove from agenda, and then we were looking for just a quick update on the quarry project.
Okay, so we are going to remove item F4, establishing technical advisory committees, from the agenda at this time and take care of that work in-house. And as far as an update on the notice of availability, there is a public meeting that will be held over Zoom on Thursday evening from 6 to 8. I will plan on attending that, and I do intend that the Conservancy will be having comments on the documents.
Thank you. And I will encourage each of your individual agencies to attend those meetings to ensure that you are in a position to provide comments.
Real quick, Rebecca just messaged me and asked if the meeting started, and says they are seeing waiting for others to join.
Is she in the right meeting?
While we're waiting for that,
Can you invite them?
Yeah.
Okay.
we quite heard like what's commenting about staff and putting items on the agenda, and I just want to be clear, we're in the city of Fresno, we're in the Brown Act, but there's that lead team. So the comment was made that you can put an item on the agenda simply part of the board. That is not correct for a state agency. Is that?
That's my understanding.
Okay. So it wasn't that I didn't want to do it. There's just laws we have to follow.
Excellent. So with that, we do have a few new members to our board. So I want to take that brief opportunity of providing them both an opportunity to introduce themselves. So member Louise, if you want to take a quick second just to say hello.
Okay. Hello, my name is Stephanie. I recently graduated from Fresno State back in May last year. My degree is in environmental science and I earned a minor in chemistry. I have different like research experiences. So I worked with the US Forest Service before. I've worked with a professor at Fresno State doing water quality research. I also did water quality research in Yucatan. And then right now I'm working with the California Climate Action Corps at Fresno State.
Excellent. We're happy to have you on board.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I'm Gary Glenville. I graduated from college 40 years ago. Quite a time ago. I was on the city council. I served on this board briefly until Mike came on the council, and then he took it over because that was more appropriate for him to present the area. And now I'm on the board of supervisors and representing the board here. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Happy to have you. Happy to have you back. Congratulations on your.
Thank you.
So with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to our consent calendar. All items listed below on the consent calendar will be approved in one motion unless removed from the consent calendar for discussion. Are there any members of the board that would like to remove an item for discussion? E6. We have a request to move E6 for discussion. So we'll go ahead and address that first. Do you have any questions or just want to remove it from the discussion? Okay. The discussion.
Should we do that? Oh, so then, okay. So do we approve the consent calendar first?
You know, if we need to make any changes to the item, then
Sure.
we can, but otherwise we can put it back in the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you, Chair, for your patience. Just on the item, everything looks fine, but I just have one suggested change. So after the last PACE meeting, it was a very interesting experience and most of us were there. Given how we're meeting and the volume of work, and it's very important to get public input, but we do it in a conducive way. I think that meeting every other month is probably too much. I think maybe quarterly might be more appropriate. So my suggestion is we reduce the PACE meetings from 6 to 4. That way they have more to discuss on their agenda and if we're going to keep here, make that commitment, there's not lost time. Because it's already going to be a long meeting anyhow, so we might as well just put more on the agenda. So my recommendation is to make them quarterly as opposed to every other month. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that.
Okay, hearing none, any online?
No.
Okay, so we will take this item separately. Before we entertain a motion, I would call for any public comment from the floor. Any online? After any public comment, I would entertain a motion to approve E6 as recommended by the council member. We have a motion and a second roll call vote.
Okay. Mr. McCauley,
Yes.
Ms. Austin,
Yes.
Mr. Carmasi,
Yes.
Mr. Grenville. Yes. Ms. Friss,
Yes.
Ms. Sandoval,
Yes.
Ms. Vance.
Yes.
Mr. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Fournier,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell,
Yes.
Ms. Ruiz.
Yes.
Ladies have it.
Thank you.
Is she, yeah, she should have, sorry, Ms. Hudson.
Yes.
Thank you, sorry.
Thank you, Ms.
You're
Hudson.
good.
With that, we're going to move back to the consent calendar. If there are no other items that any of the members of the board would wish to pull from the consent calendar, I would entertain a motion for approval.
To approve.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
1 through 5.
You don't need to. They're just information. She said they're just information. You guys don't need to vote on them because they're just information items.
Okay,
It's probably approved when
let's go ahead and do it.
I would also just like to add on item E5, the rules did change this year, and those forms must be filled online. They cannot be sent as paper copies this year. Thank you. Okay. Mr. McCauley,
Yes.
Ms. Austin,
Yes.
Mr. Cardosi,
Yes.
Mr. Renfro,
Yes.
Ms. Hudson,
Yes.
Ms. Briss,
Yes.
Ms. Sandoval,
Yes.
Ms. Vance,
Yes.
Mr. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Fordham,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell,
Yes.
Ms. Reese.
Yes.
The ayes have it.
All right, much with that, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our regular session items. Our first item, F1, an action item, elect the board chair and vice chair.
So it is recommended that the board nominate and elect a new chairperson as provided for in the San Joaquin River Conservancy Act and a vice chairperson, each to serve a one-year term of office. There's quite a lengthy summary, but we can get to the process in the bullet points. The process will be as follows unless the board determines otherwise. Chair McCauley will accept the nominations for chairperson. Upon being nominated, the board member who has been nominated can accept or decline the nomination. The nomination does not require a second. When there are no more nominations, the chair will ask for a roll call vote after the close of discussion among board members. The clerk to the board will call roll and report the result to Chair McCauley. The nominee that received the majority of the votes will be selected as the chairperson for 2025. If none of the nominees receive a majority of the votes, the nominees with the second or the highest and second highest number of votes will be included in the second roll call vote to determine the chairperson for 2025, continuing until one nominee receives the majority of votes. The same method of nomination acceptance and roll call voting will be carried out for the vice chairperson. Both chairpersons and vice chairperson will assume their positions on February 1st, 2025.
Okay, so for clarification, we're gonna do the chair nomination, we'll vote, and then we'll do the vice chair
Yes.
nomination, and we'll vote again. Okay, are there any questions on this process from member?
No questions, just a comment.
Okay,
So they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I really do think, Supervisor, you've done a great job as chair. I think, Vice Chair Austin did a great job. And being that you are a supervisor in Madera County and Vice Chair Austin is the head of the flood control board, I think it's just been a really good mix. We're all getting along very, very well, making a lot of progress. So I'm going to make nominations for each of you for the respective positions you're in right now.
thank you, I would accept that nomination and certainly appreciate your comments.
Second.
Okay, with that, unless there are any other nominations. Hearing none, roll call vote please.
Okay, this is for the chair. Mr. McCauley,
Yes.
Ms. Austin,
Yes.
Mr. Cardosi,
Yes.
Mr. Renfro,
Yes.
Ms. Hudson,
Yes.
Ms. Briss,
Yes.
Ms. Sandoval,
Yes.
Ms. Vance,
Yes.
Mr. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Fordham,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell,
Yes.
Ms. Reese.
Yes.
The ayes have it.
Thank you. With that, we do have a nomination for vice chair as well, but I would accept any other nominations if there are any. Hearing none, we're gonna go ahead and roll call vote please.
Okay. Mr. McCauley,
Yes.
Ms. Austin,
Yes.
Mr. Cardosi,
Yes.
Mr. Renfro,
Yes.
Ms. Hudson,
Yes.
Ms. Briss,
Yes.
Ms. Sandoval,
Yes.
Ms. Vance,
Yes.
Mr. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Fordham,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell,
Yes.
Ms. Reese.
Yes.
The ayes have it.
Thank you. And I do apologize, I neglected to call for public comment prior to our vote. So at this point in time, we would like to open it up to the floor for any public comment. Any online? All right, hearing none, we will move on to our next action item, which is item F2, lanes and vehicle public launch access.
So this action item is to authorize the executive officer to negotiate and enter into an agreement with the city of Fresno to provide operations and maintenance at Jensen River Ranch Extension, also known as the Janko property, and the Lanes boat launch. So the recommendation is that the Conservancy Governing Board authorize the executive officer to negotiate the terms and enter into an agreement with the city, as I just previously stated, for both of those properties, Jensen River Ranch Extension and Lanes boat launch. On December 10th, 2024, Conservancy staff met with the San Joaquin River Parkway and Conservation Trust and the City of Fresno Public Works Department to discuss current and proposed San Joaquin River Parkway projects, operations and maintenance, and Measure P funding and availability. Currently, the City of Fresno operates and maintains the Conservancy-owned property known as Jensen River Ranch. The fiscal year 24 total amount spent on Jensen River Ranch was approximately $108,189.34, and it was billed against Measure P funds that are available to the parkway. Jensen River Ranch is accessible to the public from the Lewis S. Eaton Trail or Woodward Park. It's centrally located, has a centrally located ADA compliant bathroom, benches, trash cans, and picnic shelter on site. Now, the Jensen River Ranch extension is located between Jensen River Ranch and the Lanes property as shown in attachment 1, and Ashley will work on bringing that up. The extension does not meet the minimum standards for opening and is currently closed to the public. The Lanes property does not meet the minimum standards for opening and is closed to the public and is only open for operational needs only. The following items are required prior to opening Jensen River Ranch Extension and the Lanes boat launch. Updated or new CEQA documents, fencing and or signage to protect neighboring property owners, signage that identifies hours of operation, rules and regulations, a dedicated party for opening and closing the property gates, dedicated parking to prevent unsafe parking along roadways, 2 restrooms with 1 being ADA compliant, dedicated trash and debris removal. At the December 4th, 2024 PACE meeting, opening both Jensen River Ranch Extension and Lanes boat launch was received favorably. Opening both properties with a phased approach was discussed, and a majority of the punch list items being completed by Conservancy staff in coordination with the River Parkway Trust and the City of Fresno. The PACE strongly encouraged opening both properties for public access and recreation as soon as possible. So for the proposed phase 1 opening, we're proposing that we will update or complete new CEQA documents, and that will be completed by the Conservancy. That fencing and or signage to protect neighboring property owners be completed by the Conservancy as well, in addition to signage that identifies hours of operation, rules and regulations. And then the City of Fresno will provide dedicated parking for be the dedicated party for opening or closing the property gates. They will, or the Conservancy will provide dedicated parking to prevent unsafe parking along roadways. We are proposing that Jensen River Ranch bathroom facilities be also used for the Jensen River Ranch Extension, as they are already in compliance with our minimum standards for opening, and they're centrally located between the properties. If that is not feasible, then we would contract for portable toilets located on the extension property. And then the City of Fresno would provide dedicated trash and debris removal as part of the operations and maintenance. And then for phase 2, we're going to propose dedicated parking to prevent unsafe parking along roadways. That'll be completed by the Conservancy in coordination with the River Parkway Trust and City of Fresno. And that would be located closer to the Lanes property. And then an additional 2 restrooms, 1 being ADA compliant, and that would either be a new facility or it could be, again, the temporary portable toilets, and that would be located specifically on the Jensen River Ranch Extension property or near the Lanes boat launch parking area. Conservancy staff believes that the proposed phase 1 punch list items and the agreement with the City of Fresno to provide operations and maintenance activities can be completed within this calendar year, and that additional coordination and approvals will be required prior to implementing the proposed phase 2 activities. The City of Fresno Public Works Department is interested in continuing this discussion on proposed operation and maintenance of Jensen River Ranch Extension and Lanes boat launch. Conservancy staff request that the board authorize the executive officer to negotiate the terms and enter into an agreement with the city of Fresno to provide that operation and maintenance activities at Jensen River Ranch Extension and Lane's Boat Launch. And on the screen is a map to orient ourselves. Jensen River Ranch is highlighted in red, is currently operated and maintained with that Measure P funding from the city of Fresno. And then Jensen River Ranch Extension, highlighted in yellow, is directly adjacent to property. That's currently closed, as it is not operated and maintained, and like I said earlier, does not have the appropriate signage or other punch list items available, which we do believe we can complete very quickly. And then the Lane's Boat Launch, highlighted in green, is right between the Lane's house, which we use as our office, and the Jensen River Ranch Extension property.
Excellent. Thank you for bringing us in. We'll appreciate it. I'm gonna go out to our board and see if there's any questions from our members.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, when I was reading the packet, are you asking to be able to expend conservancy funds potentially on this? Or are you assuming that, are you proceeding as if hopefully you'll get approval to use Measure P funds?
So the Measure P funds, we would hope that that would cover the operations and maintenance. So similar to what's currently being provided at Jensen River Ranch, where there's the park rangers that patrol the property and the city of Fresno staff do fire breaks and maintain the trail and the vegetation and irrigation. So where there is irrigation set up at JACO, or the Jensen River Ranch Extension property, we would hopefully work with the Parkway Trust and the city to make sure that that's all set up and managed by the city if they take over this property. And then they provide fire breaks on the Jensen River Ranch Extension property. And then any other trash cleanup or the bathroom is on Jensen River Ranch, but so they already do that. But any signage would be purchased by the Conservancy, or new gates would be purchased by the Conservancy. Measure P funding would be just for operations and maintenance, ongoing.
No, it's consistent, member Vance, with what Measure P funding was. So I don't.
For sure.
We don't know for sure, but I don't think it would be an issue. And I think what the city's being asked to do in terms of opening and closing the gates, our Parks Department already does that for our overlooks. I don't think it's asking too much from the city. It seems pretty balanced.
And the city was interested in continuing those discussions, and then they're gonna provide us like a quote with how much that would cost. Like I was saying earlier in the packet, Jensen River Ranch is about $108,000 a year for operations and maintenance.
So you talk about phase two with potentially a permanent bathroom or, portable toilets. I'm assuming you would come back to the board with a
Correct.
cost estimate. if
Phase
there's-
two would be separate approval.
Any other questions from members of the board? Any online? Hearing none, we're gonna kick out the public for a public comment.
Could you just clarify, I assume the bright green.
That's the most
launch.
Mm-hmm.
If we understand, it's a little bit hard for us to hear back here. And some sort of a timeline as to when that conceivably would open.
So, the launch could be opened as part of phase one, but any permanent bathroom structures would need to be part of phase two. So we could open the Jensen River Ranch Extension and the launch if it was agreeable with the city of Fresno to operate and maintain that. And that could be completed before the end of this calendar year. The Lane boat launch is highlighted in green.
So at this point in time, we're looking at next year.
This calendar year.
I mean, to get this approved, so we can use it like this weekend.
As you can tell, there's a lot of interest from the public in using the boat launch.
You don't come here often, do you?
I know how the city works.
So we have to have a dedicated entity for operations and maintenance. So once we enter into a contract with the city of Fresno and they agree to use Measure P funding to operate and maintain that extension property and the boat launch, it could theoretically be opened as long as the other standards for opening have been met, which we do believe we can complete this year.
So we just need to check with you guys.
Mhm.
For the date.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll hear about it. Thank you so much.
John?
Yeah, my name is John Halpin. I have a couple of questions about the launch access at lanes and the fencing between lanes and what is the Janko property or part of the Jensen extension. We've talked about actually repairing that fence. Do we need a fence there at all? Because, you know, fences are just barricades for wildlife. And if we can take that fence down, since we're gonna block off part of the lanes property itself to make that corridor, it makes sense to do that instead of adding a fence. But if we find we need to add a fence, Vulcan Materials out by the River Parkway at the River Parkway Trust, they have installed a new fence, blocking off their gravel pit, which is a 5-wire fence. And it has, the center wires are barbed wire, but the top and the bottom wire are unbarbed. And the bottom wire is actually higher up. And one of our board members witnessed 2 deer go underneath the fence. So, you know, it's a way that we can put the fence up without making it a barricade for wildlife.
Thank you for those comments, John. Definitely.
Got one more. So would you have to put a gate this area up here, right where the launch access starts? I believe that's a shared road and that has some kind of easement, because you don't own that all the way to the Lanes Road. So would you have to put a gate there and have the parking set up inside that gate? Or can you come up with an agreement with the landowners to put more parking along that road as you enter?
I'm happy to keep talking with this subject with you when you're volunteering at the
Yeah.
office, but we do have some preliminary plans
Okay, cool.
or thoughts at least.
I can clarify real quick. The Conservancy does own the Lane Road. In fact, the one property there that's not owned by the Conservancy, they're the ones that have the easement going property.
Okay, do we have any other comments from the public?
And Steve Press, I'm here representing Chris Sloan with the Canoe and Kayak Club and the Lomax Tigers. And I want to read just an email that he sent me because he couldn't be here today. He said, "We think that the access to the lane site should be limited to groups that have written agreement with the San Joaquin River Conservancy. For instance, like the Truth President Canoe and Kayak Club, the River Tree Volunteers, Parkway Trust, and Boy Scouts. So we think that parking would be a problem, so that the parking and trash bins at lanes should be established. My group will be happy to facilitate the delineation of a parking area that should be adequate for multiple groups with canoe trailers. No parking at the launch area site and others to bring down vehicles to pick up and drop off, carry watercraft down at the river, but not parking down there. No motorized watercraft in the area. All trash must be removed from the premises or properly disposed of in vans of lanes or at the fallen east site. Richard Sloan. Anyway, we support the idea of using access from lanes, and we're all here for that. Because as of now, we're having to get out of palm and knees through the Access Corporation, which Rich has an agreement with. So that's worked out, but it's a very long paddle, and we're not getting any younger. I'm gonna be 80 and 40 in 4 months, so it's a long paddle for most of us in the summer when it's 115 degrees, and we go every once. So we're giving up our day to people.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Again, hi, my name is Chris Howes. I'm the junior member of the Lomax Kayakers group. And I just wanted to recognize all the work they do, especially the effective leader, Rich Sloan, who couldn't be here. I have very rarely met anyone that amazing that goes out on the river and you're all, I see Bobby shaking your head, the guy's tireless. If we had more of that in Fresno, holy smokes, what did we do? But I will tell you that of the groups, and Carrie has heard from us ad nauseum, so she knows exactly what we want. But these groups that he described as having recognition, these, in my opinion, are the people you want on that river. These are the ones who see a can, pick it up. Don't ever leave it. All backpacking rules apply. Just very careful of the land and the people that get to use it. But yeah, even at my junior age, I will tell you, once you get to 41 and you gotta go palm the knees, you're going, holy smoke, especially when it's summertime. But, so we appreciate even having this considered. I see that little green line and I just got all excited. And I go, holy smokes, that's the best thing next to buying the sportsman's club back, but you can pull that one off. That would be awesome. Anyway, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chris.
My name is Robert Gross and I'm a resident of Madera County. And I kayak down the river from Bryant Cove all the way to Palm and Nice every Wednesday, along with this other group of people. We used to get out at Fort Washington Beach and that got closed off to us. We used to go to Sportsman's Club and that got closed off to us. And then for a while, we got out at Lanes. And when we did that, we would show up above the house. We'd park our cars, we'd put shuttles on our boats, and then we'd go up to Bryant Cove. And we'd launch our boats and we'd paddle down to Lanes. We'd get out on the water, we'd put our boats into our vehicle, our boats into the trailers, and we'd be gone. So in each moment, we'd be there maybe 10, 15 minutes. The Lanes was just a wonderful access for us, and when that was closed off to us, our only other choice was to paddle another 3 or 4 miles down flat water, which is really excruciating to do, and in the hot summertime, we just can't do it. So having access, once again, to Lanes would be a boon for us. One would really appreciate doing it. As I say, once again, we're only there for a few minutes, once a week. And that's our group. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any additional comments from the public?
Yeah, my name's James Minton, I'm a Clovis resident. Just want to echo some of the comments that have been made. I think access to the river is one of the goals here, public access. We've lived here over 40 years. I've just been watching the slow process of trying to gain public access, but I just want to advocate for launching at Lanes would certainly be a vote to our group, but also to the residents of Fresno County. And yeah, whatever we can do to advocate for access to green space in this area is appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, unless there are any comments online, anybody? Mama?
Chuck Rover with River Free Volunteers. Mike, it was really nice seeing you out there doing all that chainsaw work, or Robert McCauley, not that you have plowed, but I never knew he could run a chainsaw. As far as the lanes, it'd be great if it could be open. I'm not sure, and I'm gonna have to ask Carrie, how many people have access agreements with the Conservancy? Because the list was very short. There was only River Tree, Fresno Canoe, Kayak, and the Parkway Trust. If that's it, I was wondering, what about the Sierra Resource Conservation District? Because we've worked with them and the scouts and everything, and we'd like to take a lot of people down there. So with River Tree, that's fine. We would have access, but I think it's going to limit the amount of people that can enjoy the river. So I think I like the proposal that Carrie had first to open it up and not just exclude everybody, but the service agreements people would be a problem. I believe the river should be enjoyed by everyone, but it has to be controlled. That's my thoughts.
Yes, sir. And for clarification, we're opening this to the public, correct?
Correct.
Correct. So it would be open to everybody. And of course, we will continue to monitor to ensure that people are using it in a safe and sanitary way in which, hopefully we're mitigating any trash that could be left behind. And, part of our plan is to have trash cans available on site, correct?
That would all be,
Part of phase one.
negotiated as part of phase one with the city of Fresno.
Okay.
And I do want to mention, we had an intern, so this would be for a longer term parking solution, to provide additional parking on, the riverside of Bryan. We did have an intern go out and survey how many people cross Bryan Road at those various intersections, at Fort Washington, Champlain, et cetera. And over the weekend, in a 2-hour period, more than 500 people cross the road. And they're about 30% of those people or of the drivers are disobeying like travel laws. So like, don't turn right on red or crossing not in the crosswalk. And so we do think that it would be incredibly important to provide parking as part of a larger parking as part of phase 2, which we'll hopefully negotiate with the city with the additional approval from the board. So that we can reduce the amount of traffic across Bryan, which has had several fatalities recently.
Thank you. Definitely appreciate those comments and that foresight.
I just have a quick question for clarification. How far is then Lost Lake, a county, Fresno County owned park?
Actually, it's owned by the state.
It's almost county.
Nope, we need to fix that, but anyway.
But it's a public park, from the standpoint, what is the distance? I'm not remembering. It's because it's just due north, but I would imagine I've been out there many times and there has to be a launch.
There's a launch there.
Right, for all of those, and just thinking from the standpoint that I realize the demand is great, which obviously we want to meet and do this, but I think also not dismissing the fact that there's another public access point there just due north at Lost Lake.
There's launch access at Front Cove, which is problematic because of the broken bridge. There's launch access at Lost Lake, launch access at Sumner Peck, launch access that's operationally only at Lanes, and then at just opened Wildwood Native Park in Madera County, which is also on the map but not highlighted. It's on the north side of the river by Highway 41 right there where the cursor is.
Could we get that data regarding, Bryant for Washington? I want to give that to our public.
Yeah.
PD, please. That'd be very helpful. So.
And then once the Camp B is transferred, you'll have to pull out place that Camp B you're in.
Yes.
Did you ask the distance?
Oh, no, I just asked for the data. That way I can give it to law enforcement and, the city.
Remember the board.
It's the
I was
distance.
just pointing out.
That's the distance.
It's 8.5 miles to Fort Washington from Lost Lake. The Lanes would be about another half mile. And from Bryan, it's about 12.
I hear you folks do that every Wednesday.
Shall we do that every Wednesday?
We can watch you guys.
Question, do we have an anticipated cost to the Conservancy on getting this property open this afternoon?
It would be nominal because of the operations and maintenance provided hopefully by the city of Fresno. It would just be for signs and maybe a portable toilet if deemed necessary, but we are hoping to use the Jensen River Ranch bathroom facilities.
Perfect. That's the definition of loading.
Yes.
With that, do we have any other questions from the board?
I just have a comment. I just want to support the idea that, and which is the proposal, but I do think it's important that the launch site be available to the general public and not limited to certain groups.
Thank you for your thoughts.
I didn't mean to give the impression that it should be limited.
All right. With that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second. First and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. McCauley,
Yes.
Ms. Austin,
Yes.
Mr. Gamassi.
Yes.
Mr. Grenfell, Ms. Hudson,
Yes.
Ms. Chris,
Yes.
Ms. Sandoval,
Yes.
Ms. Vance,
Yes.
Mr. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Fournier,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell,
Yes.
Ms. Ruiz. Yes. The yeas have it.
Thank you. With that, we're going to move on to item F3, which is an action item, Prop 40 bond funds and request for River West.
So it is recommended that the San Joaquin River Conservancy Governing Board approve $172,000 of Prop 40 bond funds and a grant agreement with the city of Fresno for the River West Fresno Habitat Restoration and Revegetation Project. The Wildlife Conservation Board authorization will be requested at the February 2025 meeting if approval is received at this meeting. Oh, the background is really long. There's background, location, project description, and then CEQA review. Do you want me to read all of this in great detail, or would you? Or would you prefer a short presentation by Michael Osborne, Aaron Aquino-Carhart, and myself?
Sure. Let's start with the presentation. I would, before we get into the presentation, add that we did receive a comment letter from the San Joaquin River Conservancy Trust. That letter was distributed to the board via email, and there is a hard copy in the packet.
Good morning, Chair and board members. Michael Osborne, Provost Pritchard, the lead engineer on the River West Eden projects. This application here is for funding a portion of the overall, the $9.3 million project, which is the River West Eden extension projects for the core project to move forward to construction. This would be a portion to fund the restoration and revegetation of areas throughout the River West Eden site. We are currently in the process of developing the habitat restoration and revegetation plan. These funds would be used for the implementation of that plan. Most of those funds and the restoration would be coming in the form of decommissioning some of the existing dirt roads and trails that are down there, turning them back into native habitat, as well as improving some of the areas like the San Joaquin River Access Port parcel, which has a bunch of soil stockpiles and looks very industrial in nature. So changing that area would be to help once the River West Eden Trail is extended, the Lewis West Eden Trail is extended through the River West area to make that habitat and that area more native in nature. The history of that site, as most of you know, is varied and has been heavily manipulated by humans over the decades, from cattle ranching to mining to, eventually living, habitating way back centuries ago. So.
I would like to provide a point of clarification in that the board has previously authorized $9.3 million conservancy funds to be allocated to the River West Core project. During the design process, it was estimated that cost for the core project would be about $10.6 million plus some additional funds to be determined. And so we're anticipating, just roughly maybe 11 million for the core project. So with the 9.3 already being authorized and the project costing 11 million, there's a gap. And so this is funding that we're requesting from our Prop 40 bond funds. This money that we have available will expire in June 2025 this year if we do not use it.
And so that's money that would not be taken from the 9.3.
Correct. It's in addition to closing the gap. And then I've also requested Measure P funding to help close the gap, but that isn't certain until the mayor has released his budget and it's been approved by city council. And that'll happen later this year.
But for clarification, we have received a positive, I guess, you were able to meet with the Measure P steering committee?
Yes.
In regards to that request?
And they are recommending that up to $1 million of Measure P funding be spent on capital improvements, but that's a recommendation to city council.
So I see, this appears to me to be a piece of the overall planning and habitat restoration part of the bill. So where it's going to be a $1.7 million habitat restoration, is that 1.7 million part of the 9 million we've already approved?
Right.
It is. So this is just that the restoration piece is already part of the 9.
Right. With this is additional funding that can help achieve the goal of the overall core project, to not have to cut and work criteria.
Thank you.
basically a different, it's a private, well, the priority we've already identified, but it allows for different funding. So is that fair?
Well, I think, so the 9.3 million was previously voted, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I wasn't here for that. That was voted for, to come out of the operations and maintenance funding, the 15 million. This is an additional, this is Prop 40, which will be added to the 9.3 because we have a need about, what is it, $1 million need.
So it's
So,
a part of the overall project that we already approved as a priority.
Yeah, we're just using an alternate fund source for it. So, yeah.
we have several fund sources we need to use to close the gap and to fund the project that's been approved.
And we'll look for more, good luck.
I did have one question about the timing of the restoration actions relative to construction. I'm assuming that we obviously have the restoration and the footprint of where you have construction happening. I'm assuming this would encumber the funds, but the restoration would be
Yeah.
coordinated with the other construction actions for the trail, et cetera. And is it a 3-year spend or a 5-year spend when encumbered, you know, for Prop 40?
Aaron?
Hi. So once we encumber, we do have, I believe, until 2027 or 2028. I need to verify to spend the funds.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions from the board? You on the line? One, go ahead.
The San Joaquin River Sparkling Conservation Trust letter does bring up a point about, restoration on the landfill. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I know, well, that might be a concern in terms of putting things there, but I know in other landfill situations, that's actually beneficial to have soil stabilized with plants. Can you speak to
Yes,
what's
so,
proposed on the landfill?
yes, the issue on the parcel that's owned by San Joaquin River Access Corp. That is the lower part of what's been locally or largely referred to as the Spano landfill. The area down the San Joaquin River Access Corp parcel, it has been documented and determined to be inert material, concrete and metal debris that's been buried in an old gravel pit and covered. That's different than the nature of the landfill as up above on the bluff, which has organics and has gases and, you know, things that has to be mitigated and monitored. Currently, the Access Corp is in the process of detaching that lower landfill section, that inert landfill from the overall Spano landfill. If that's successful, then there is no need for additional caps or protection of the material below that's been essentially buried for about 20 to 30 years. If that's not successful and it is still continuing to be part of the landfill, then there would just be a cap on 2-way of dirt, 2 to 5 feet of fill, that is what planting would be put on top of to not disturb the fill cap. But right now, it seems pretty positive that working with the county, that they'll be able to detach that lower portion from the overall landfill and declassify it.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Do you have any additional comment on the board? If you're in that, we're gonna go out to public comment.
Good morning again, Sharon Weaver with the River Parkway Trust. I just wanted to clarify, we're not opposed to using the funding for this purpose. We think it's perfectly a valid purpose. I just wanted to highlight the issues that were raised in the Conservancy's EIR in this project because both board and staff members, there's been a lot of transition and some of you may not have read that report that talks about the landfill. We did a lot of due diligence on that inert dump site because we have an option agreement on the site for a number of years. And I would just suggest that rather than using somebody's assurance that it's okay that the Conservancy get a letter, from the solid waste department, somebody that actually has the regulatory authority over that before moving forward, with the actual implementation of the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Or for clarification, that we absolutely would not take an insurance verbally, we would take the written authorization from the Fresno County, who is the lead agency, as well as Cal Recycle before moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you for that clarification. With that, do we have any additional comments? Stephen Barrett, all of it.
Yes, Barry Power. We, looked at a 65% completion. So they could start issuing permits, a week or two ago, a month ago. That's what generated the letter that's in front of you. There were a few issues that needed clarification, weren't exactly right. And yeah, Michael and his team are addressing that, I'm sure. Does anybody have any questions about that letter that I sent? The most operative piece is we've designed in a, Michael had initially designed in a restroom facility on the Spano Park property, the parking lot. And of course, that is not authorized in the easement that we received from the Spano family. The point is that we need a restroom at that end of the parcel, okay, for the public. I think it's in the base plan. No, I know it's in the base plan, in the core project and that sort of thing. And the team had originally assigned that to the little squares at the bottom of the diagram that included creating the trail down to the parking lot. In fact, we're gonna have to pull that restroom out of the category it's in right now and bring it back to the core project to move forward. Are we in the same plan?
We can talk about it, at a meeting at another time.
Okay, I wanted to point out to the board though, because it is semi-open issue, documented and so forth, okay? That's all I have to make.
Thank you, Barry. Scott?
Yeah, John Halpin. I have a question about the inert landfill and how it was determined that the materials in there were inert and you know, what methods were used.
That's a question for the county and the cycle. Although,
If I can, the documents that we have uncovered have been subsurface explorations by Kleinfelder, testing agency, in the area. That in the 80s and 90s, there's a number of different tests that have been done, documenting the material that's been buried, as well as anecdotal evidence from back in, written evidence of when it was a pit, when it's been filling.
some of that information is in the River West EIR because that was substantially discussed.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for the comments. Any other questions from the board? Any online? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. A second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll call vote.
Mr. McCollum,
Yes.
Ms. Austin,
Yes.
Mr. Karloffy,
Yes.
Mr. Grenfell,
Yes.
Ms. Hudson,
Yes.
Ms. Chris,
Yes.
Ms. Sandoval,
Yes.
Ms. Vance,
Yes.
Mr. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell,
Yes.
Ms. Ruiz. Yes. The ayes have it.
Fantastic. I appreciate the river concerns. Thank you. So with that, we're going to move into item G, our administrative and committee reports. We have a report from the Deputy Attorney General. Hearing none, we're going to go ahead. Jack,
Oh, yes, I have nothing to report. Thank you.
thank you. Go ahead and move to our executive officer.
Well, Happy New Year, everybody. I have lots of things to talk about because we have had quite a lengthy break between our board meetings. So in December, I was able to go to one day of the 2-day all directors meeting in Sacramento. The focus of that meeting on the day that I was there was primarily looking ahead for this next year in the climate bond, and then some of the questions that a lot of state agencies have had regarding the budget and vacancy sweeps. So, we are still, the Conservancy is working with our counterparts in Sacramento to determine how the rollout of the climate bond will look and how any monies will be received and how they should be distributed for projects. So more information to come as we know more and work more with Sacramento. And then also, we were told at the directors meeting that we would have more information on the 7.9% vacancy sweep, as I talked about at the prior board meeting. We did receive an email on January 10th, saying, and so just for some background, there are exemptions to vacancy sweeps like this. Usually the Conservancy is exempt because we're so small. We meet what that one, there's so many exemptions we meet, but that's the big one, is that we're small agencies, so we're usually exempt from position sweeps.
Are you also getting an 8% general fund cut?
Haven't heard that we have gotten that.
You might have gotten exempt. You would know by now.
Well, I was on vacation for 2 weeks, so I haven't checked all my emails. So I guess I'll be doing that. But for the position sweep, we did hear back that, so we were originally considered exempt, then they changed it to us not being exempt. And then we had to report our one position that's vacant. And we heard on January 10th that the Department of Finance has accepted all cost savings. So we're working to clarify with Department of Finance and agency that that does include our vacant position. We're interpreting it as it does. But
That is lost.
yeah,
They basically told most agencies that you don't have exceptions.
so we're trying, we're hoping it, because we use bond funds to pay for that position. So we're hoping it, because it's not general funds, that we.
They don't care. So for a lot of our positions that are funded by things then other than general fund, they're still being swept, and they're basically sweeping the spending authority.
Great. So we have a backup plan in that the climate bond recently passed and we've been requested, or agency requested, if we were going to be requiring additional personnel to execute the climate bond. And so as a backup plan, we said, yes, we would need one position, and that was the position that was swept. So hopefully that we are retaining that position. It'll still be funded as it was traditionally, but the swept position can be recreated.
Just a point of clarification. So, the new position that you're talking about or referencing, or the unfilled position, was that not becoming available due to the O&M funding of $15 million, which we had deadlines to meet? So they sweep it back?
So we're still gonna be able to create the position, and it's still gonna be paid for by O&M, but the vacant position that was created by O&M was swept. We're gonna recreate it because of climate bond, and it's still gonna be paid for in the same manner.
It's just so unfortunate. I would just like to go on record. It's unfortunate that it was a position that's created from the O&M funding. But by the way, we've been waiting for over 20+ years, and this just happens to be a year in this situation. So we'll get swept because we have, 4 or 5 people and to execute this whole thing.
Yeah, so everyone's getting position, all state agencies are getting significant position vacancy sweeps, regardless of, even if they were new VCP created positions. So there's a lot of that happening around the state, which is unfortunate. And it's regardless of fund source.
But as we've been requested to communicate, we are gonna increase efficiencies with the staff that we do have. So in addition to the all directors meeting and via email, Secretary Wade Crowfoot has given kudos to the Conservancy on opening Fall Ranch and Wildwood Native Park. And we had lunch together while we were at all directors, and he's very impressed with the work that's being done at the Conservancy, and he's got his eye on us. So I wanted to extend those kudos to this board, that we're being watched closely and that he's proud. So Measure P update, I talked about it just briefly in one of our agenda items, but over this break, I did attend the PrAC commission and requested $150,000 of Measure P funding be allocated or recommended for allocation to the Camp Cheyenne property for capital improvements so that it can be opened. With additional Measure P funding needed for long-term operations and maintenance. And that was approved by the PrAC Commission to move forward to the City Council. In addition to my request for up to $1 million of capital improvement money from Measure P be allocated to the River West Whole project. So both of those recommendations were made to the PRAC Commission. They were both successful and they'll be moving forward to City Council for consideration. For River West Fresno, as you saw earlier in the meeting, we are currently working on filling the gap for the funding that's needed to construct the whole core project. And that's with the application for Prop 40 that you have approved, that will now move to WCB for approval. And then there's the Measure P funding. We're hoping to receive a portion of that. But there's also the climate bond, which is coming available. We're still working out the details, but that could also be available to fill the gap for the River West 4 project.
I have a quick question. I saw in the somewhere in the packet that it was about $11 million for the Conservancy. Is that annual?
For the $11 million to construct the core project.
I saw $11 million from the climate bond.
Oh,
That's
it's
annual?
total.
That's totals.
Yeah,
Over what period of time?
5 years.
Okay. Yeah, it's not very much.
It's
I was
not.
hoping it was a convention.
I would love it to be annual, but it sure isn't. So River West Fresno, the whole project is still in design. And we are working with the city of Fresno right now. The project manager is out, but they're still working through the design process. So more updates to come.
And
But
then
we're still on
sorry about
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
I'm just thinking, so that $11 million, is it encumbered in any way for specific activities or is it general for the Conservancy?
We will need to, just like we did with the Prop 40, we will need to do the two-step process to allocate funds for projects with the climate bond.
Okay, but it's not tied to one particular deliverable.
There's conditions for climate bond, but that's all being ironed out.
General enough with the
Yeah.
Conservancy's mission.
Yes.
Thank you.
Western Reaches update. So at our previous board meeting, we had a presentation on Western Reaches. We tabled discussion and it was to be brought back in January. We are not ready to present that and continue discussion. We are hoping to have that on the March agenda. So stay tuned for that. There was a Ball Ranch opened. So Ball Ranch opened on November 12th. And we had our soft opening and then we had our press conference. It was well attended by several elected officials, our board members, members of the public and interested, and our agency partners. We sent out a communication to our board via email of all of the different press outlets that provided a report on the opening of Ball Ranch. And then we also had a news release. So it's open, it's free to the public. And we've been out several times just on our own personal time to go out to Ball Ranch. So I recommend it to everybody. And just after Ball Ranch opened, Wildwood also opened, and that opened on January 10th, just this last Friday. So we are hoping to have a similar type press conference for a grand opening of Wildwood. And more information on that will be forthcoming. We have to work it out with some of our speakers and elected officials. Also on January 10th, Sycamore Island and the Van Buren unit also reopened. So that is, they closed for their period of deferred maintenance. And we are working on the amendment to their contracts to allow them to stay open on a year-round basis. So now that they've reopened, we anticipate that that contract can be amended and it should be open year-round until the term of that contract is over. And now some fun things, if that wasn't fun enough. We have just created a Instagram account. So it came to our attention that we only have Facebook and not everybody uses Facebook. And so to be tagged in some of CNRA's posts and some of our partners' posts, we've created a business Instagram account. So please follow us on Instagram. And we'll be posting pictures and keeping the public updated on our property openings in that fashion as well. And as part of, all of our technology updates, we are also entering the process of having new website design that's being spearheaded by CNRA to be more accessible and to follow the state's template. So we're starting that process as well. And we'll be updating a lot of the information on the website in coordination with WCB and other partners where appropriate. And then we have a board member tour scheduled on the afternoon of January 29th. We have one board member who requested a tour or who wasn't able to attend our October tour and would like to come in January on the 29th in the afternoon. So if anyone would like to go that hasn't been, or would just like to go again, we're going to do the same thing that we did in October. So that's, if you would like to attend, please reach out to staff and let us know. It'll be probably 12 to 5, 12 to 4:30 on January 29th. And then I'd like to also thank all the board members who attended our first Christmas holiday party. We had it at Lane's. It was chilly, but we kept it warm with our holiday cheer. And we're hoping to keep doing appreciation events like that for our board members and our volunteers. And with that, maybe our next board meeting could be at Lane's. We don't have central heat or air in the main conference room area, but in March, it may be tolerable and we could meet there and we could enjoy that property and use the conference room that we have set up. So
is there any reason we couldn't, like all the technical things can be accommodated as far as joining resources, agency building, et cetera?
I think that we have everything at Lane's to accommodate our meetings. We did a trial meeting. We had Sierra RCD come and use it for a strategic planning meeting. And it didn't have all of the technology set up. And we kind of used that meeting as troubleshooting. And then we got everything set up and we've, I think, tested it. So it could be possible for March. But we could talk more about that. Unless you really like it here.
I would be ready to go to Lane's. I don't know if
So that is all that I have for my executive officer report. I know it was long and I will communicate more regularly with monthly updates so that it's not so long. Oh, and then look, we have pictures.
Oh. We also now have a monitor and we're working on getting flags so that we'll have all the
everything that's
required.
Well, it sounds like we're getting a lot done and that's a good thing. I appreciate you and your staff. You guys do the heavy lifting. We as a board don't, we support you and that's our role. Thank you. And then the next item is board members' reports and comments.
If I could just add, congratulations on moving outdoors for all. It's a state initiative, but I'd like to consider it a movement where everybody could be involved and just make sure that more people have access to the outdoors. And it's really, I've been on this board for a very short time and it's amazing to see how far we've moved to just opening these places. So it's really exciting. When I was at the Fall Ranch opening, I did interview our elected officials and they reported messages on their excitement of opening that park, and CNRA, the Natural Resources Agency, did share that video online. So I don't know if I followed up with you on that, but it was shared on Instagram and Twitter pages, I believe. So
you can tag us now.
Yes. So thank you not only to you, but anybody else who's involved, who's given public comment. I think collectively we can all really, further advance an outdoors for all. So thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
This is just a follow up with an appreciation for Carrie and her team. Their progress is just phenomenal. It's just to sit here and hear it and just far exceeding the hopes, and we have ways to grow, but the product, and then just to see what's coming and the accomplishments that having achieved already a very short time you've been on. It's really exciting. Just congratulations and thank you. And thank you for the Christmas party.
Yes.
Just to clarify, we used to get a lot of headaches. We don't get headaches anymore, so I want to thank you all for that. I know Robert isn't here today, but all five of you are doing an amazing job, really, Carrie, great job. And Rebecca and Ashley and Cheryl, thank you everyone for all you do. It's refreshing. Now, I'm not only welcome Stephanie, although we met in the last meeting, but my colleague, supervisor, Gary Rutherford. I'm not gonna lie, I've actually missed it the last week and a half. You haven't been there, so at least we get to do this together.
Of course.
So get ready for press conferences. We're gonna do them all on. Anyways, welcome aboard.
Stephanie, do you want to think? Oh, yeah, I just wanted to thank Carrie for, she took me out yesterday, like, to look at the different properties and gave me like some history and showed me around, so I really appreciated that a lot. Cause I'm like, I know like in the PACE meeting, it was like lanes and Circle B, and so it was nice to actually go out there and finally see the properties. So thank you, Carrie, for that. And also like, thank you for the holiday party. It was really fun. The food was good. The snacks. Oh, Cheryl, I saw your creativity out there with the, it was awesome.
Yeah, we went to Pins and the egret maze. We bought the egret maze.
Yeah. And then also I did the eagle/bird watch at Singapore Island in December. That was really cool too. Like, I went in like not knowing anything about like eagles, and so I really appreciate it. I think it was like Larry who went out there. That was so passionate about it, and I was like, okay, wow. And I was all there with my binoculars trying to find the birds too. But yeah, I would just say like one of the things that I was kind of noting about that event is like it would be cool if we can start doing things for like for Spanish speakers. I feel like that would be something awesome to do out there because I came in like being like, oh, I don't know nothing, to being like excited about birds, you know? And Larry had that like effect on me. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, and next we'll move to item G4, organization reports.
Hi, everybody. Sarah Parks, Assistant Director with the San Joaquin River Parkway Conservation Trust. And I'm going to start off commenting on what you just mentioned with some exciting news. We have a fabulous partnership with Fresno State, and we recruit interns and staff from many different departments on campus. And I'm really excited to share that Fresno State in their language program has a brand new internship that the university is paying students to participate in. And the trust is going to have 3 Spanish language interns who are going to help us with providing Spanish language nature walks and also expanding our ability to provide dual immersion field trips on the river for Madera Unified and Fresno Unified. So we're working on that, and I'm excited to engage with you on that process. I also wanted to just acknowledge a couple of things from the press conference. I was reflecting on it as we were talking, as it's been talked about today. And for those of you that weren't there, it was such an incredible moment of celebration because Ball Ranch is so important to the history of the San Joaquin River Parkway. Clary Prager, who is one of what we call our founding mothers, was there, and just seeing her be part of that celebration and recognizing all of the incredible work that she and the other founders of the San Joaquin River Committee and early members of the River Parkway Trust, like, it is such a milestone. So I just want to have us all acknowledge how special and celebratory that is. And the other update I wanted to share, last week, we had the trust had the privilege of providing 4, we call it Winter Wonderland river camps. We worked with Fresno Unified, who attended camp at the River Center in El Hollow. Madera Unified, who had camp at El Hollow for the first time. It was a great experience for them. And we worked with Central Unified, who had camp at Cinder Head Ranch. And that program ended up being kind of a small group, which was in some ways disappointing, but also created opportunity for us to really follow the interest and curiosity of the kids who attended. And all they wanted to do was take long hikes. So every day in the afternoon, they hiked from Cinder Peck Ranch out to Ball Ranch, 3 or 4 miles a day. Our river camp director said that her phone was like, whoa, you're getting way more active than you normally are. And it was just an incredible experience for those kids. They climbed on the logs, they overcame fears, they got to see wildlife. It was just awesome. So all of the work that we do in these meetings, and sometimes it's difficult and sometimes it's
easier is really making an impact on the community. And so as we're starting a new year with new board members, welcome to both of you. There's a lot to celebrate and I'm excited about the year ahead. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
John Halpin again. I want to say something about Ball Ranch. Back in December, out at the Parkway Trust, we had a Gardening Angels game, which we do the second Saturday of every month. And so we trimmed some deer grass that's growing out there. And then we took all of those trimmings out to Ball Ranch. There's a burn scar out there by one of the ponds. And we got some instruction from Michelle Pitkin, who is part of the Fresno American Indian Health Project. And she told us how to spread those out in the burn scar and to take our shoes off and walk barefoot out there on them to work them into the soil. And then it was, I think it was about a week later, Michelle came out with some sedge, some white root that we were able to transplant around one of those ponds. And while we were there, we identified another sedge bed that is over on the Sumner Peck property, where we can actually harvest some of that and continue to spread it out. You know, these are cultural materials that are very important to the Native people. And the more that we can do that and spread it and have them involved in how we do that, the better the parkway will be. It's another way that we can get the Native community involved. And we can get the regular community involved. If we can have events where we invite the public to come and see how the Native people used to live along the river and the resources that were available to them, and then we propagate those and then make them available to the Native community, we will all benefit from it. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Not seeing anyone else. We have done our closed session item. Next board meeting date is March 5th. Next case meeting is February 5th, correct? And those are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.